Hey guys, Jerry Learns Business, and I might change this channel to Heart since we seem to have good conversations on here. But I have Nishantha, who is a teacher, and he also teaches people how to master their dyslexia and ADHD. And what I mean by that is, you yourself were kind of born with dyslexia, but you overcame it, and you just teach people how to take what maybe some school systems consider disability and just turn it into what works for them. So welcome, Nishantha.
Thanks, Jerry. It's nice being back and talking to you again. I remember our first conversation was about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And things have changed a lot for us both personally and also like around the world. It's been a crazy few months.
Yeah.
How have you been doing in the last couple of months?
This is actually the perfect time right now to talk about what we were just talking about before I started recording, which is the toxic hustle culture, right? And when we first did our talk back in 2017, I think I was definitely too much of that. I was, making a video every day on 2 channels. So I would make 2 videos per day, man. And at the time, it didn't feel like it was a big deal. And then one day I was doing jiu-jitsu, got hit in the head, and suddenly it messed me up for a little bit. And then a year later, I was doing jiu-jitsu again, and then I got tripped and my head went back, and then my neck hurt for the next 6 months. And what happened was I developed this kind of toxic, hustle thing for many, many years. So I just couldn't stop working. Sometimes I wouldn't eat properly. And so I developed really imbalanced neck, and that puts you at risk, especially if you're a guy that does martial arts. So a lot of what I've been doing this year is finding some balance. I had to step away from one of the channels, the channel where I first interviewed you on, and I've been just strengthening my neck, strengthening my upper back, really reminding myself to eat when I need to eat. Like, these are habits that I didn't develop. No one told me that, if you're working on the computer all the time, you're hunched over, you're going to develop some problems in the head and the neck and stuff like that. So This is definitely a year of growth for me in different ways that I never thought in 2017 when we first talked that, I'd be going through this right now.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I've been really thinking about where does that start? Why do we develop this? And at first I thought it was like some social media, it was like a new type thing, but I think it's actually schools. I'm a teacher, and I'm we're doing all distance learning right now, which is kids stay at home and they learn through Zoom and Google Meet and things like that. And it seems like a lot of the kids are really under a lot of stress because we simply assign way too much homework, and that kind of sets a pattern to where even when you go home, you're working at school stuff. So what are you gonna do when you get a job? You're gonna work at home, right? So it's really hard to delineate working from not working. And I think the quality of your work, especially if you're doing knowledge work, right? If you're using your mind to build things like concepts, constructs, code, content, these different things, they are not bound to the physical world. So I think the quality can vary. You can spend an hour doing something and the product that you create could be super awesome, viral, or it could just go nowhere. So the quality really, really matters. So it's not about putting in a lot of time. It's about really thinking about what you're doing and who you're doing it for, and really having empathy with the people that you're going to be that's going to be consuming your stuff. And that requires a lot of time. Not just time in, but time out of the project. So I've been really thinking about that idea, and it's something that I'm kind of growing myself too. So this week I walked 100 miles.
Wow.
I've never done that before, just walking as a form of just I guess it's meditation, or I don't know what it is, but the weather is nice around where I live. So I've been walking a lot and just been thinking, and I've never really taken that much time for myself before. And this pandemic has its negatives, but like you were saying, it also is forcing me to really think about what I'm doing and how I who I want to be and who I'm becoming, that kind of thing.
Wow. So for viewers that are not familiar, Nishantha, tell me about your YouTube channel. When did you start it, and your whole business of teaching people how to overcome dyslexia? Tell me more about that journey.
Okay, so I actually started my YouTube channel when I first started teaching, there was a student, and I'm a 7th grade science teacher. So there was a student, and he found out he was dyslexic, and this guy was like just not having a good day. It was a very sad thing for him. And before as a teacher, you try to kind of like um, appeal as an authority figure, right? You try to like say like you know a lot of things and you've done a lot of things and you have like all these credentials and things. So the kids, when you say something, they trust you. But when this kid was telling me like about his diagnosis, it really like touched me. At first, I didn't tell him I was dyslexic because I didn't want him to like be like, oh, this teacher's dumb. But what I realized was I was like kind of sending this message out saying like dyslexics are dumb. So that night I went home and I checked out a book called, I don't know if I have it. It's called The Dyslexic Advantage. It's a really good book. And in this book, it kind of reframes dyslexia as a positive rather than a negative thing. So I really studied that book, and I just made this video saying like, hey, you get these 4 advantages with the disadvantages that come with dyslexia. And those 4 advantages for people that might be interested or curious are narrative reasoning, which is like the ability to like tell really good stories. So dyslexics have a special way of using episodic memory, which allow them to weave different stories together in order to like process information. Dynamic reasoning, which is a way of like predicting the future, like taking a bunch of different events, putting them together and making a prediction. So that's really good for like entrepreneurship, that kind of thing. And then there is material reasoning, which is the ability to take 3D concepts, objects, ideas, and then kind of put them together, kind of like if you were in like some virtual space. And the last one is interconnected reasoning, which is kind of like the ability to take ideas that are not really related, put them together somehow to create like invent new ways of looking at the world. So these are really powerful ways of processing information, but that's not really out there. What's really out there is like you can't read, you can't spell, you're not good at school, you're dumb, you're stupid. So like I wanted to really try to change that that messaging just for that kid, and it turned out other people enjoyed it too. And for a long time, I didn't want to be the dyslexia guy because it was like I didn't think it was like a big thing. But over the last couple of years, people have been really reaching out to me and saying, "Hey man, this content is really like helpful." Even though I don't have a huge audience, I think the people that do watch my stuff get something like a little bit something that touches their heart, you know. And I think that's something that I want to keep working on. I think the future of my channel is going to be more pivoting towards I want to teach dyslexics how to do knowledge work. So that's kind of like where I'm going, and I'm kind of working on a book to lay out my own ideas about like how to kind of explain that kind of thing. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. So in your about section, you talk about Leonardo da Vinci. Was he dyslexic too?
You know, that's controversial because, you know, dyslexia was only, I guess, not invented, but like thought of as dyslexia. Like I think it was like 200-300 years ago. It wasn't like a thing that you can kind of go back and like look at someone's life and kind of figure out. But the interesting thing about Leonardo da Vinci is he was ambidextrous, and he would write his and some people think it's because he was trying to hide what he was writing, like some kind of code. But then others think it was just like the way his brain was naturally working. He was just writing, and then you would notice that he would write backwards, forwards, like in different directions, just flowing throughout his journals.
Wow.
So there are some credible historians that do believe he's dyslexic, and a lot of the dyslexic strengths kind of correlate. So like dynamic reasoning is being able to predict things. Narrative reasoning is being able to like tell a story, even if it's like his paintings, like with the Sistine Chapel and things like that. And then also his ability to like invent mechanisms like flight and things like that. That also is very correlated with material reasoning, which is like the ability to look at 3D space and like build things inside your head with it. So I personally think he was dyslexic, but it's up for debate. But I rather believe he was dyslexic than not. I mean, who can, like, there's no way to really tell. Like, you can't go out and test that guy, but I like to think so.
I see. And tell me about the ADHD portion of what you help. I mean, I guess being an educator, there's always students with ADD and ADHD that you have to teach, right?
Yeah. So it's very correlated with dyslexia. So I think like 10% of the population of the United States have dyslexia, and of those 10% of the population, I think it's like around 30% of dyslexics are ADHD too. They have ADHD as well. So they're like a very those two things are pretty well linked together. And I myself have ADHD and dyslexia. Unique experience, and I can talk to kids and I can talk to adults who experience both of those things. And I think like I might be the only YouTuber right now that's talking about ADHD and dyslexia in this way. I know there's like a lot of like companies, like, you know, conferences and things that talk about dyslexia, but I might be the only one that's doing it like as a human, like as a creator talking about dyslexia
Yeah.
as their main content.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to feature you on this new channel again, because I want to feature interesting people who are doing cool things. So yeah. Again, it's awesome what you're doing. And I think the question that popped into my mind now is, you're a 7th grade science teacher. Was that what you wanted to do with your life? Did that kind of just life just guided you that way? I think that's always a fun question to ask with people's kind of jobs.
Yeah, so I was born in Sri Lanka. It's like it's island in the Indian Ocean, and my parents immigrated here, and I immigrated here as well when I was 9. So I kind of have like that typical immigrant like Asian immigrant background story where, you know, my parents really, really, really wanted me to be a. What do you think, Jerry?
Probably doctor or engineer.
Exactly. That's like the stereotypical Asian parent, right? And I tried that. I tried really hard to become that person, but in college, I just couldn't do it. Like I tried to do volunteering. I tried to do a lot of things in the medical field, but I just couldn't, like, I couldn't see myself getting there. And my last year, I kind of had like this, like, I guess it was like a mental breakdown or something, where I was in a really weird space, and I read a bunch of and that's when I started reading. Like, I started listening to audiobooks and things, and I must have read like 50 books that year. And I kind of just examined my life, and I just thought I can probably do something that I would be interested in, and maybe I can change later. And teaching is where I kind of landed, and I'm super glad I did, because it kind of gives you I kind of think of it like a video game where you reach a checkpoint, and now you can go and explore, and then like you can, like, you know, keep failing the mission, but then you're reborn in this area. And that's kind of what I have right now. I have a really comfortable life, and I really enjoy my job. But teaching I'm really good at it too. So like I'm able to do it more efficiently than my peers, I think. So it gives me a lot of time and space to work on other passions in my life. I don't know if I'm going to be a teacher for the rest of my life, but I'm really glad I'm here now, because it's a really interesting time to be a teacher, like especially with distance learning and things like that. It allows you to kind of experiment, and there's a lot of change happening right now, and it's pretty exciting to be a teacher right now because of all that change, and people don't know what to do with it. And I think I have some skills that I can help other teachers with. So it's like it's a good place to be, but I don't know if I'll be here forever.
I see. And was science always the subject you taught, or have you taught a bunch of other subjects too?
Yeah, science was the only subject I taught. Like I was saying, I was pre-med, so like it was pretty easy to go from. I don't think I would have chosen any other subject, because I just knew this subject the most. But I think teaching is not really like about the subject. It's really about understanding the kids.
Yeah.
Especially at my level, I'm a 7th grade science teacher, so it's not really, the content is not very hard to teach. You know, it's not really the content. It's really getting kids to like science, or just getting kids to even like school. I teach in a pretty weird, not weird, pretty socially, economically depressed area in Paris, in California. And there's not that much opportunity for kids over there. So they don't see school as a way of, turning themselves into something. And I don't necessarily see that as the path either. Like, I don't think college is the way to become like whoever you want to be. There's so many other ways now.
I agree.
But I do think it's important to have a foundation of like being able to learn things, and like to be able to, like, the ultimate meta skill of like becoming an autodidact. That's kind of like, and that's another reason I really admire Leonardo da Vinci, because of his ability to like just learn things. And yeah.
And I think as we talk about this, I know in 2017, one of the concepts that you were all about, and I see it on your Twitter, you still talk about it, is first principles, right?
Yes.
And did you get that when you, after college, started doing all that book reading, or was that from later?
Yeah, first principles, I originally came up with this idea by reading Ashley Vance's biography on Elon Musk. Do you know what the first principles are?
You explained it to the other channel, but please explain it to the viewers here too.
So basically, it's breaking down. Okay, so it's basically humans have two modes of thought. The first mode of thought is through stories, by analogy. So like, your mom tells you not to cross the street, or your mom tells you not to talk to strangers, and you believe that because it's an appeal to authority, and you believe her story without really questioning why. The first principle way of thinking it would, the first principle way of approaching that story would be to keep asking why until you get to like the physical reality of the universe. So you would break it down until you get to the like a physics level, and then you would try to build that argument back up and see if it would still stand according to the logics of nature, instead of like the stories you've been told. And you can pretty much do that with any subject, any idea. And I think I have a pretty easy time doing that now, but it was really hard in the beginning, because it's really, when you start doing it, you start questioning everything, and you kind of become like this contrarian, and like a little bit of a jackass, because you just like ask like why do you think like this, and you ask a bunch of questions that's probably not polite to ask, even I think I lost the thread here, but first principles is basically breaking down any argument into physics, and then you build it back up to see if it still stands to be true.
Awesome. And you have 2 kids now, and do you, balancing a YouTube channel and your teaching career and 2 kids, do you find that hard at all, or do you still feel like you have a lot of time to do everything you want to do?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's very difficult to figure out where the energy should go. Like where I think it's getting dark over here too. It's kind of hard. Is that too much? What do you think?
Yeah, I think what you had before was fine.
This is okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's very very hard to decide where to put the energy, because what I'm doing is not some like map. I don't have a map for this. I decided not to like pursue like any kind of, I don't want to be a principal. I don't want to be like a technology, like a teacher. I'm really content with being a teacher in my classroom. I'm not trying to go up any corporate ladder when it comes to teaching, like in the education industry. But there is a map for that. Like you can literally like look at someone else and figure out like how to get to become a principal, or how to become a superintendent, or someone that like education consultant. That is something that you can like look at and like follow those steps and get there. But I don't know what I'm trying to do. So I don't know where I should be putting my energy. So I'm just trying a bunch of different things and like seeing what works and what doesn't work. So I think if I knew where I was going, it would be a lot easier to like figure out where to allocate my energy. But yeah, so I guess that's the hardest part, is not how much work it is, but like where do I like put in, where do I put in the units, like where do I put in the effort?
Hmm.
And yeah, I wish I had like a team or like someone to help me like edit videos or like write scripts or like but I don't have someone right now, so like maybe that's something that I'll be able to like accomplish later on, maybe in like a couple of years, where I'm like, after I have like a physical product or like a information product or something, then I'll try to probably hire someone to help me with editing videos or like writing scripts or some, like doing social media and things like that.
Yeah. And I think it's really great that you're sharing this with everyone, because I'll tell you the truth. I have some of the same challenges too. I don't know sometimes where to put my efforts either. Like it's like I have goals and stuff, but I don't know. And that's one of the reasons I have so many YouTube channels, because sometimes maybe I want to be like, oh, I want to talk more history, and then I'll work on my history channel. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, I want to just talk to people to learn about entrepreneurship and business, and that's why I'm doing this channel, right? And then other days it's like I'm thinking martial arts, self-defense, I'm doing another channel. So it's just like, yeah, I think for anyone watching, know that even the people who are in the public spotlight, like me or Nishantha, a lot of times we're like, okay, we're figuring out. We're all figuring out. Every single person, even President Trump, is figuring it out.
Absolutely. And another thing, I think what's really interesting is having you don't have to know where you're going, but the direction matters. Like building things in building things that building things that leverage is more productive than building something that doesn't have any leverage. And when I'm talking about leverage, what I'm talking about is like capital, labor, code, or media. These four things you can build once, and then you're able to like use it over and over again. So so I think what you're doing with the 4 YouTube channels is like you're building a media brand around yourself. And the really cool thing about what you're doing, I think, is because is you're taking all of your interests, and then you're kind of like becoming, I kind of think of it like a skill stack, like do you know about this idea of a skill
Please
stack?
Tell me more.
Okay, so a skill stack is basically so there's 2 ways to really think about careers. The first way is to follow a map, like I was saying. Like if you wanted to get really good at golf, there's a skill stack for that. You just do what Tiger Woods does, and then you just try to acquire as much of a skill stack as possible, and then you will become really, really good at this very narrow set of skills that no one else can compete with you against. But there's a lot of people doing that, trying to go after that spot because that is already known skill stack. So what we're trying to do is not become the world's greatest YouTuber, not become the world's greatest martial artist or historian or business person, but we're taking all these ideas, and where all those ideas intersect is where your personal monopoly is. So you're creating like this position in the marketplace where you're the only person that can do it because of your interests. And if someone else wanted to be Jerry Liu, they would have to learn martial arts. They would have to do all this stuff to get to your spot. But then you can always outcompete them because you're more intrinsically interested in doing these things than everyone else. Yeah. So there's no way that anyone else can compete with your personal monopoly, right? Yeah, so I think it's an interesting thing. As long as you're building something with leverage on the internet, going after like, okay, so I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I like to think of, and this idea comes from this guy called David Farrell. He says your content is kind of like a lighthouse, and what it does so you put a piece of content on the internet, and what it does it goes all over the world and finds people for you, and it brings them to you, and like. And then that's how you kind of how you build an audience, and with that audience, you can support yourself. Like like the Kevin Kelly's 1,000 true fans idea, where like if you have 1,000 true fans, you can become a successful artist. And I think that's kind of where you're going with your channel. Channels is what I'm seeing. Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah,
and I was kind of like going tangents and stuff, but
yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring you on again, because I remember during our talk the first time we really went deep into kind of like learning modes and ways to think about the world.
Mm.
And that's why I had to bring up all this stuff. And I think one of the most important things for anyone, you know, you talk about the autodidact too, for people who really want to learn, you really have to surround yourselves with idea people too, right?
Mm.
I like to think of it like 20-80. You have to surround yourself 80% with people who do, but you have to have 20% of people who are idea people. If the person's a doer and an idea person, that's a real gem. But most
Mm.
people are either doers or idea people, right? That's why usually there's bosses and people work under bosses, or there's like creators of a company and the people he hires. But some people, you know, like people like you and I, we do and we think, right? But
Mm.
that's why this goes into another kind of topic tangent about social circle and all that. And it's like why it's so important to like choose your friends very wisely, choose the people in your
Yeah.
community very wisely.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you, man. Like, I think, have you heard of that idea? You become the 5 people that you're closest to or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally believe in that. And with the pandemic, what I realized is like I don't have access to all my social group anymore. So it's kind of helped me figure out my authentic beliefs.
Like, exactly.
So like, and with those, it gives you a really strong compass. Like, I kind of think of it kind of like, uh, it's kind of like a, it's like a feeling. Like, and when you're surrounded by a lot of different noise, then you can't really listen to this thing. Like, it sounds really kooky and like hippie, but it's like, I really believe in this idea that like, there's something talking to you. There's
Yeah.
like there's a feeling, and then like it's very, 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 very quiet. It's whispering, and then you got to try really hard to listen to that thing. But if you surround yourself with a bunch of noise, there's no way, man, you can't do it because like humans are just really good at manipulating each other and like trying to figure out ways to convince each other of their stories.
Yeah.
Like, this is my story. You should jump into the story with me, because when you do that, there's man, I'm going off on a kind of
No,
like a
this is
tangent.
cool. I love these conversations, man. That's why it becomes a heart to heart, right? We really talk about interesting, like heart to heart stuff, man.
Okay, so yeah, I'll continue then. So
Yeah,
there's like
please.
I think humans have like two minds really. So
Yeah.
you can kind of think of it like in a video game, you have the avatar, which is like the evolutionary body, and like there's like certain programs that like this body runs, and like, there's hunger, there's like a need for like food, shelter, sex, protection, like this mod mentality, all these different like things are biologically like evolutionary programmed into you. But then there's like this higher self type of thing where you're like the player. You have the avatar, and then you have the player. You want to spend as much time as possible being the player, being able to like direct your avatar into like doing the correct things. But it's really hard to do that when the avatar goes into a crowd. You kind of, the player and the avatar kind of gets disconnected when you're in a crowd, and then the player has more power in a crowd. So yeah, I don't know, there's kind of like weird esoteric things that I don't really.
Dude, I love this. I'll give you kind of my take on this. So when the lockdown and the quarantine and stuff happened,
Yeah.
I had to simplify my friend circle, for lack of a better term. I had people, for example, who, somehow started hitting me up again, who, let's say, didn't talk to me for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally had to tell them, look, right now, everyone's mental faculties are limited, so I can't make room for you. I literally had to tell people that. Some people I had to be a little meaner because, they would try to reach out to me in a very kind of not nice way, even though they were trying to reach out to me for help. It's like, you really realize that this is definitely another topic for another time, but social skills need to be taught in life. And a lot of people like have not learned social skills or forgot their social skills in this day and age. But yeah, so like, for me, it's kind of like the same kind of realization. I literally made my community much smaller. I cut loose a lot of people who didn't need to be there. And then it made me happier because I could devote my time and I could devote my whatever, right, to people that I actually care about. Even the people, like some people I reached out to want to interview, I realized they were kind of like mean people. And so after I interviewed with them, I just said, sorry, I can't deal with you. And I never put the talk up either. So it's like, so it's like things like that, right? You don't realize until you get in some ways, times of opportunities, as much as it sucks what everyone's going through right now, but times of opportunities like this, it really helps, to use your analogy, Nishantha, of seeing if your avatar and player are getting a little too disconnected and how to reconnect them better. And one of the best ways to kind of remove too many other pulls from that avatar. So I really like that analogy.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? You said something interesting where I lost it, but dang. Okay, yeah, we'll come back to it.
Well, yeah, we'll come back to it. And while you think about that, I'll follow up on something else I took from what you said. And this is something I've been talking about with a lot of people, which is that a lot of people in this world, they might have great ideas, but they don't want to be the ones to be the only one to have that idea. It's the follower versus the leader mentality, right? A lot of people in this world are not comfortable being the lone leader. Like if you have an idea and everyone else has the idea and you lead, it's fine. But if you're the only one who has that idea, it makes some people really uncomfortable.
Heretic.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be the heretic, so to speak.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people, some of them, I think you and I are like that. We're just going to do it anyways, right? But some people have a very unhealthy way of trying to. And the reason I mentioned this is because you said this about like people trying to manipulate their opinions on you. Some of these people, because they don't want to be the heretic, they want to almost gaslight other people to kind of take their side, so that way this person with the idea doesn't feel like the only one with the idea. And I started noticing this more when this lockdown forced people to their lowest, right? Because a lot of people wanted to leave LA. So some of my friends were trying to gaslight what I'm doing and to try to convince me to go to Austin. And I had to tell them very honestly, it's like, I love what you're doing. I'm always there for you as a friend, but this is a boundary you cross. Do not talk smack about what I'm doing. I don't talk smack about you. So, I expect the same level of respect, right? Another friend, he's trying to be a politician in Canada. And he like, he's going a route that's not really a route that, let's say, people in his community really do. So he kept trying to gaslight me about what I'm doing. And he's like, yo, Jerry, you should go into politics too. You're perfect for politics. You should get a government job where you do nothing. And then, the taxpayers pay your salary. He kept trying to like gaslight me. And I had to cut that guy off. The other guy was trying to get me to move out. He chilled out and he actually got married, and like having a level-headed wife seemed to have helped him. But like the second guy I'm talking about, I had to cut him off because he kept trying to like pull me into discussions about politics, which I don't want to have right now. And, mental faculties are limited. I'm focused on my focus, right? My skill stack, as you said, Nishantha. So I had to cut the other guy off. I'm just like, this guy's not learning. I support what he does, but if he's trying to get other people to artificially join him in an idea, that's not healthy. That's manipulative.
Absolutely. I like what you said. And it kind of reminds me of this like maxim that, do you know Naval Ravikant? Have you heard about this?
I have not. This sounds like a cool concept.
So this guy, he has a maxim, and he says he only plays long-term games with long-term people. And the people that he likes to build relationships with are smart, ambitious people with high integrity. So you want smart because, and the smart's not like brain, like you're like high IQ. It's just smart as in like there's like a skill stack someone has created.
Yeah.
And then like ambitious as in like someone that wants to build something. But if you have smart and ambitious but don't have integrity, you're just dealing with crooks.
Yeah.
And if you have integrity but not smart, you're kind of dealing with like someone that's probably let's just say how it is, like a time waster.
Yeah.
So you want to have all three of those ideas. So I also started believing this idea where I only want to have relationships with smart, ambitious people who have high integrity that I can see myself being friends with 80 years from now.
Yeah.
If you're not into that category, then I'm like taken away from other relationships I can have in the future, or building products or ideas inside my head, because every relationship has a cost of time, energy, emotions, like spirit, like all these things. They're like a real resource in your life, and then you're going to be spending them. And most people don't realize they're like actual resources that you invest into people.
Yeah.
So you want to like make sure that you're doing it, like you want to pick the right people to do that with.
I love your paradigm, man, because I think about most of the people in my life,
Yeah.
and most of them are smart and have integrity, but they don't have ambition.
Mm.
And a lot of these people, that's why they get stuck at some company that they hate, but they just do it, right? Yesterday I was even texting a few of these guys, and I'm not to knock them. Again, they're very smart. They're very great people to be around under most circumstances, but I'm definitely not going to talk business with them because a lot of them have sat on business ideas for like 6 years and done nothing. Right? It's interesting. I really like this paradigm because now I think about the people I think I've cut off. Those are the ones that are smart and ambitious, but don't have the integrity, right? The ones who want to gaslight you, the ones who want to like make you do stuff for their own kind of like fun, or like, like we'll try to get back in touch with you after blowing you off just because they need something, right? So like I'm really good at spotting those guys and cutting them off, but it makes me think about the people who are smart and integrous. I think that's the right word, or integrous. I don't know. I don't know what the word is, but like they're not ambitious. Are those people necessarily the right people to keep having in your life? And it doesn't mean completely cut them off, but maybe it's like, how do you put them in a farther circle or something? These are things like, I'm just posing this to viewers too. These are things to think about.
I know. I think like this is something that I've been really thinking about, as in like, have you seen that really old movie, The Mask of Zorro?
Yes, I was just watching it last night, by the way.
The circles.
Yes.
Do you know the circle thing?
Yes, the circles, yeah.
I think that's the perfect analogy for it, because the closer other people are to that center, which is you, you want to have the strongest, not every, like, there's a spectrum when it comes to smart. There's a spectrum when it comes to ambitious. There's a spectrum that when it comes to integrity. And then I think the closer those people get to your center, the more on the high spectrum you want them to be in all of those categories.
Oh,
like your wife or your husband, that person should have the highest integrity. And then like your business partner should have a pretty high integrity but really high ambition.
Yeah.
And if it's like, so at like different levels of this circle, you might have like an optimization function, like I don't know if this is making sense. This is just like happening in my head right now, but yeah, what do you think? Do you think that's a good?
I 100% agree with you. It's like, depending on what role the person plays in your life, there's probably a different optimization function of these three values. I really like what you said. So like a business partner, depending on what the role the business partner plays, maybe he doesn't necessarily need to be that smart, but he has to have a lot of integrity and a lot of ambition, right? Or maybe he has to be very smart and have a lot of integrity, but you're the one with the ambition. You're the idea guy, right? So, but he's dependable, right? So like, these are definitely things to think about. So it's like, depending on how close they are, like you said, in your social circle, and then also what role they play in your life, there's some kind of optimization of these three qualities.
Yeah. And I think it's, I think even understanding people takes time. So you can't just like go to a party and meet someone and make a value judgment on them, because I think even the categorization of like smart, ambitious, integrity, like integrity is probably like the easiest one, but you don't know until you get into a situation like that saying, everyone has a price.
Yeah.
And then like you want that price to be as high as possible, like for most people. But anyways, I think you have to initially invest something in people in order to like even find out. It's like a price you have to pay with your resources of time, energy, emotions, all these things. And then as soon as they like show you who they are, then you're kind of waiting. You're like waiting for them to show you, like show like, hey, show me, and then show me who you are. And then once they do, if it's a negative outcome, instead of feeling kind of like, oh man, that really sucks, I messed it all this time, you should just kind of be grateful. Like, wow, that is so awesome. I got to find out this thing so quickly, or like without having to invest, 3-4 more years with this person.
Yeah.
Or like,
yeah, exactly.
like, yeah. So yeah, I did. Yeah, this is an awesome conversation. I'm really digging where all this is going.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to
So,
bring you on. I knew we'd talk about some cool stuff. And, this all goes with learning about life and business and entrepreneurship. Like, you got to think about these things too. You can't just think about the day-to-day marketing and the brand building and the sales, right? You got to think more deep into this, or else one day you're going to be like, okay, what am I doing with my entrepreneurship? Like, what's the point of this, right?
yeah,
That's why this stuff's important.
Let's talk about brand building, sales, and entrepreneurship though. Like, that's something I'm super into too, and I feel like I'm learning about that myself. And like, yeah, I'd love to like just kind of riff on those ideas if you want to do that. Yeah, how do you think about branding? What is a brand? Like, I've been really trying to figure that out for myself. So my thing is, I want to be like the when someone finds out they're dyslexic, I want them to go like, I want to be that guy. Like, I want my like lighthouse to be so bright that when someone finds that they're dyslexic, they automatically get attracted to my thing. And it flips their understanding of like dyslexia as like this shitty thing that happened to them to like, wow, my like I have like so much more capability than I'm like, and I like before I was dyslexic. That's kind of like the vision that I have for my brand, but like building that is obviously taking time. What is your like idea of like your brand and like even like the concept of a brand? Well, like, how do you think about these ideas?
Yeah, and as much as I love building brands, the thing is, I actually don't even know what my personal brand is. The reason why I'm really good at building specialized brands, like, a fight commentary channel or a history channel, is because personally, I don't know who I am. And so I think it's interesting because, you are your own personal brand, right? That's the most important thing. And I personally don't even know what my personal brand is. So,
well, looking for like, you went to Ivy, right? Like, you went to, where did you go?
I went to University of Pennsylvania, where our president's from.
Okay. You're like this like intellectual guy. You probably read a lot of books.
The thing is, maybe that's what it was in 2018, but I don't even know if I'm that way anymore. Like, I kind of don't even read that much anymore, to be honest. Yeah. So like in 2018, from 2016 to 2018, I think I was in this phase where I was trying to really justify what I did in college. And that's why I was being so intellectual on my other channel. Right. But I think after a while, I'm just like, I think it just goes with my personality. It goes with the integrity. I just felt like I said everything I needed to say. I said everything smart I needed to say. If I'm going to keep saying smart stuff, I'm either going to be repeating myself, copying other people, or just making up stuff, right?
Yeah. Just to have that.
Yeah, just to have a channel. And a lot of brands do that, but I just couldn't do that anymore.
Well, okay, so let's think about who you want to serve. Like, what, like, people say it's audience, but I think like the person, like, what are the type of people that you would want to like have your life impact their life?
Yeah, and I think the way I would answer this is, I've had many people reach out to me trying to pull me to their side. So like Asian Americans, like, Jerry, can you please try to be a better role model for Asian Americans? Or like men's rights people be like, Jerry, can you please join our side more? Or other types of people, right? Will like tell me to do whatever. And every time I see that, I'm just like, I don't even know if that's my thing, because I like forming my own community, but I don't really like joining some arbitrary team, right? I believe in like everyone should try to get along and understand each other. And, while we talk about this, it's really interesting. That guy who kept trying to pull me into political discussions that I had to cut off. One time when he was telling me, yeah, Jerry, please get into politics, I gave him this word, a Chinese word. It's not even a Chinese word. It was a made-up, invented Cantonese word that Chinese people have made so many movies and books about, that people think it's like an ancient Chinese thing, but it's not. The word is jianghu. Jianghu literally means like kind of like almost like the underground, but that's not the right word. It's just kind of like the non kind of standard society, so to speak. But even that sounds weird. But what I was telling is
like alternative society,
just like an alternative type of life, so to speak.
Okay.
Or like almost like a nomadic life, but nomadic's not even the right word for it. But a lot of these people in these novels sometimes they're called pugilist fantasy novels. They're kind of like wandering, right? But they're not wandering like a Ronin, because like in the Japanese concept of a Ronin, it's just a guy who no longer has a leader, so you just kind of do other things. A lot of these people people in the Jianghu, they're not necessarily trying to find a leader like a Ronin. You know, they're not lost. They just live this way. So it's almost like if that's my mind, just somehow I managed to embody. It's like life imitating art. The concept of a guy who's doing his Jianghu thing. You know, the Jianghu guy usually makes a positive difference whoever he or she interacts with.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have like a set place or a set commitment or anything.
Yeah, it's kind of like so you have the alpha male, the beta male, and then the omega male. You know, do you know about this idea?
I know about alpha, beta. I don't know about omega at all.
So they're all like prototypical, like it comes from animal behavior, like wolves and stuff. So there in some wolf tribes there is like a male that is in the group and also without the group. Mm-hmm. He's not a real leader, but he's also like not really a member of this group. Mm-hmm. Yes, and he just kind of shows up once in a while and does his thing and bounces and and no one really can control his behavior, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then that's kind of what I'm feeling when you mention, how do you say it?
Jianghu.
Shanghu.
Yeah, Jianghu.
Shanghu. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about in my head when you mentioned that. So let's think about monetization. Like, how do you think this YouTube thing is going to? Because it's an important thing. Making money is like, how are you going to support yourself? Yeah. Where do you think this YouTube thing is going in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think this is something that's really, really, for lack of a better word, kind of interesting for a lot of people, because I think the traditional ad revenue model is going to be harder and harder. So where do a lot of YouTubers go, right? Yeah. Are YouTubers going to do more brand deals? Are they going to do more affiliate marketing? Are they going to do more Patreon stuff, membership type of deals? So I think that's something that a lot of people are trying to figure out right now. And what you find talking with a lot of these really successful YouTubers, it's usually two cases. One, they got so popular early that they can really ride off passive income even if they don't do anything. And then there's the second type of YouTuber who I think either has a wife or husband or lives with mom or dad or something like that, has a good support structure. So I think if you're going to take this concept of being that like Jianghu person and just do YouTube, I think it's going to be harder and harder. I managed to make it work, but I think it's going to be harder and harder. And this is something that I think a lot of people will have to think about, especially people trying to get into the social media YouTube game and stuff like that.
So have you noticed your numbers going down as far as like revenue and things over the years?
It is going down, but a lot of it now is probably due to election season. There's like a general throttling of everyone that's not related to politics at all. So
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, because the attention is going to there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then YouTube is all about attention, man.
Exactly. So they're also like on your homepage. If you don't X out of it, they'll try to promote breaking news and stuff like that to you. So that's affecting things on Facebook too. Facebook's even more panicked because it remembers what happened in 2016, right? It doesn't want the wrong content to go viral ever during this time.
Yeah, so I think it's like this, like an algorithmic way of serving up content for people that are looking for content. Mm-hmm. Do you find that to be kind of problematic as far as like, because YouTube knows me so well, man. Like if I go on YouTube, there's a video that I will probably click on. Like every time I go to like the YouTube homepage, but it's not people that I subscribe to. It's not people that like, it's just like kind of randomly gets served up to the top. Like people like Mr. Beast and like, it's really hard to make videos people will click on in the education world. I think it's like, if it's entertainment, like sensational type of things, clickbaity type of things is really easy. But if it's like a like some educational thing, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what, like, I wonder where this is all going.
Yeah. This is something I think every person who's a big consumer of content or a creator of content thinks about constantly. Because is it that potentially a new platform will emerge, or is it too late for new platforms to emerge because they've all basically created kind of an oligopoly already, all the big companies? So these are things I think definitely to think about and do research on. I don't have the answer, but I know right now we're not in the most optimal conditions for people. I mean, most people will say basically what you said. It knows me so well, but still it's not completely catering towards what I want. So
yeah, or it's not just like knowing what you want, but it's like creating want.
Yes.
Like it's like there's some stuff that like some rabbit holes that I've just gone down. I'm like, and like in the past I was like, man, I learned so much from like going down this one rabbit hole from YouTube. But now it's like the algorithm is like serving up certain content, and then I watch it, and then the people are so like they're influencers, so they know how to like get you to start thinking about this stuff. So you'll want to watch more and more of this. So it's like this serendipity machine. But I wonder if it's like a I wonder if it's serving the viewer, or is it just to gain more watch time out of people? And I think it's to get more watch time out of people, so they can have more, so they can have more advertisements.
Yeah, I think a lot of what platforms are doing is sacrificing sort of long-term benefit to society for some advertising watch time and funnel. I think it really is. And this is something I think the people working at tech companies, especially the decision makers, but everyone's a decision maker in the tech company. You don't have to say, well, just because I'm a lowly person, I can't make a difference, right? But I think these are things that people have to really think about, because you asked this question for a very good reason, which is a lot of us are wondering if the tech companies are really doing good anymore, right?
Yeah.
You know, with everything, with how the algorithm's trying to create want, but is it good want? Is it like helpful for your growth want? You know, stuff like that, right? Or sometimes it silences certain views it doesn't agree with. Is that correct? Right? There was a talk on Joe Rogan. I think he was interviewing a philosopher, Godsod. Godsod said something really great, which is, think about AT&T or T-Mobile or any of the cell phone companies. They don't ban someone with a view that's considered heretical just because it's heretical. You can still call someone. It doesn't matter if you have a heretical view, right? But for some reason, a lot of these social media content platforms don't take that approach. They're like, okay, if this view seems too heretical, we'll just not let them do it.
Yeah.
Right. So like, what's the right approach? Is the AT&T approach correctly, or is the YouTube approach correctly?
It's so hard because they're fundamentally like different things, right? Like, but you're right, man. Like, it's like someone decides this idea is okay, and then this idea is not okay.
Yeah. And
then that's not objectively, there's no objective judge, like we don't have like it's like it's not someone that was like elected, that was not someone that was like put there by the people, that like it's just some person that got this job, and now they get to decide what gets sent, like what gets censored, what doesn't get censored. And I don't know, man. I think this is a really hard thing, but like, have you seen this movie, The Social Dilemma?
Everyone's been talking about it. I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
It's really good, man. I think you would really dig it. Check it out. But it brings up a lot of good points as far as like algorithms serving up ideas and like making them viral. Like it's not just so before, when the internet was first being created, and YouTube and Twitter and all these people were like making all these platforms, it was like a form of distribution. And then if I subscribe to you, your content was gonna get served up to me.
Exactly.
Because I asked you for that content.
Yeah.
But what happened was they realized that it was better to serve up content algorithmically, like try to predict what the viewer wanted to see, and then keep serving that up, because that would increase retention. Yeah. But the problem with that is now I am no longer making decisions on what I'm watching because I didn't ask to be subscribed to all the things that show up on my front page of YouTube.
Yeah.
But they just serve it up to me anyways because they know that like I'll watch it. And yeah, you're right. I'm gonna watch it because the things you're serving up is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Like I love watching that stuff, but I don't want to watch it because it might be taking away time that I could be doing other things with.
Yeah. Including sleeping, you know.
Yes.
A lot of people, whether on TikTok or whatever, they're like, wow, I've been looping or just clicking on videos for hours. I do that on YouTube still. Movie review channels, man. YouTube knows that I love movie reviews. So no matter what channel, eventually it leads to movie reviews. And then I created a channel to review movies too. I rarely do it because it takes a lot of work. That's why I just get lazy. But like then I'll try to just only use my movie review channels to watch other movie reviews. But YouTube still knows that I like movie reviews. So I'm always eventually in the funnel when I'm clicking, I get showed movie reviews.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. It's like the same type of stuff keeps showing up on my feed, like, and I can't escape it. But there's a really good Chrome extension. It's called let me look it up real quick. It's called Hide Rec, and it removes all recommendations from Chrome, like Facebook, Instagram, not Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. So when you go to the front page of YouTube, there's nothing there. You literally have to search things.
Ooh.
To go to people's like channels.
Yeah. Please send this to me, whether in the chat or later on. You can send this to me an email. I would love to have this because I'll tell you, one of my inspirations to start fight commentary, his name is Quant Kicker. He actually has another way where his homepage, so when he logs on to his computer, his homepage is his subscription tab. So you click on your subscription tab, that'll take you to everyone you're subscribed to, right? Kind of like how it used to be. So instead of relying on your homepage being the algorithmic recommendation, your homepage, when you log in, is just the subscriptions of who you're actually subscribed to.
I don't know, man. I really hope you like. Am I allowed to cuss on here?
Yeah, you can curse. Absolutely.
Yeah, I really hope like YouTube gets their. Yeah, I hope they get their shit together and like make some long-term decisions because I think this is fatiguing like content creators. Yeah. Because when you like lose access to your subscribers, like you work so hard to get like subscribers, but then it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. And what ends up happening is some people they quit, or another time what happens is people literally will just go off platform. They'll find a new platform and say, okay, if this is how it is, man.
Yeah, and I think ultimately what you have to do is create your own community and own an email list. Yeah. And then that way you can serve up your own content. Like I'm really thinking hard about like creating some kind of lead magnet for my dyslexic people. So that way, whenever I upload something to YouTube, I can all like just send an email saying, "Hey guys, I just uploaded this. You guys are probably not gonna see it, but here it is." But then that's also sending these people into YouTube. Yeah. Like they might be working on some other stuff, and now I'm like sending them to this black hole of attention where like it's really hard to escape out of. Anyways, yeah, this is interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's always good once in a while. If you think too much, it'll make your head very, very like confused. But it is good to think about like what's the solution, right? Is it to move off platform so everyone has a website? But the thing is, I'll tell you, most people that build a website, like you said, Nishantha, you have to rely on YouTube or Google anyways eventually to generate traffic to the website, right? So exactly. Like, let's say you have 100,000 followers. Maybe you get 2,000 of their emails. You tell them to go on your website. I will wager a bet only 100 of them will check it every month. That's the sad part. That's the sad part. And I'm gonna say this. I think part of what's to blame is content creators. And here's what I mean. Too early on, because for a while, right, YouTube was just blogs and stuff like that, right? People talking to the camera. And then suddenly, and I think Kev Jumbo and Higa started, they were doing kind of like skits, right? Eventually got to the point where people like Freddie Wong, Corridor Digital in like 2007, 2008, 2009, I think that around that time, they started doing really high quality, like almost like TV quality level productions.
Yeah.
So suddenly you have a new generation of audience, millennials, and maybe some Zoomers, who are expecting that type TV film level content for free.
Yeah.
You see where this is going? So
Yeah.
when YouTube tried to do YouTube Red, when YouTube tried to do YouTube Premium, QB, right? This app QB that just failed trying to do like premium quality content. It failed because people were like, well, I can just go on YouTube and see similar stuff for free. You see? So content creators almost created our own demise because we were not apt to ask for money early on in the process. And a lot of those early people got famous off it, but they messed it up for the entire market in the future.
Yeah,
I'm not saying this is the correct interpretation.
No, I totally dig it, man. I think like people kept upping the ante because attention became so valuable. I think it's the most valuable thing in our society.
Yeah.
So like, you know, like, this might be kind of weird, but like, I think Twitter is for thinkers, like people who have like original ideas and maybe authors, people that are just thinking about certain things, like scientists, journalists, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Instagram is for like, it's mostly for beautiful people, like people that are trying to like fitness models. That's kind of how I look at it. Yeah. But then YouTube is for like, it's for creative people.
Yeah.
So even if there wasn't like this attention thing, the platform itself attracts all these people that are trying to do something that's a little bit creative, a little bit different. So, yeah, man, I don't know. It just makes me kind of sad.
Yeah.
But it's also pretty exciting because you never know when you turn on YouTube what's the front page is going to bring you.
Yeah.
You know, like that's kind of how I found your stuff.
Yeah.
Front page. I think it was because you were making some commentary about this like white guy in a Chinese.
It was that video, the German dude, German dude who rapped in the Chinese dating show. Yeah.
Yes, and I was like, wow, that is it, because you had like this some really interesting like title and thumbnail. So I was like, I gotta click on that, and then I feel like it brought me into your like.
I know.
So yeah.
Yeah, that video blew up overnight. I think everyone in Germany saw it too. Every millennial and Zoomer in Germany saw it too. So old people don't care, of course, but like millennial and Zoomer in Germany saw it. So
do you think that's possible still? That kind of virality, is that still possible right now?
I think it's getting a little harder. I really think because of the way the algorithm seems to have changed, especially when the lockdown hit and how news was just promoted. It almost seems like YouTube's just trying to become like the news platform because no one watches news on TV anymore. They're like, we're going to take that market.
Right. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And yeah, I really don't know if that's where it's going. Maybe YouTube will realize, oh wait, no, that's not where it's going. But I just there's certain trends I see, and yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know.
Do you think it's better to like try it? So this is kind of where my head's at when it comes to like YouTube and like content creating and like whatever it is that I'm trying to do with this dyslexia thing. Mm-hmm. I think I'm gonna use the public platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube to distribute content, and then I'm gonna try to capture a portion of those people into my email list, and then I think you got to have some clickbaity, some like not clickbaity, something very compelling for someone to give you their email address.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of focus should be put right now.
Yeah.
I think maybe like 50% of your attention or your efforts, I think that's kind of where I'm going. It's like, I want to capture people's emails because these companies, these platforms are not allowing me to access them.
Yeah. And that's how I've been reaching out to my viewers. I've literally just been very honest and vulnerable. I'm telling them, look, you probably haven't seen my videos in a while, and please give me your email so I can actually treat you like a subscriber. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the trend that a lot of people have to do, because, or else one day you might just like, people might just unsubscribe because they're like, I don't see his stuff anymore, so why should I subscribe to him, right? And then you can't get their emails anymore. I mean, you can still reach out to them and they're like, oh, so that's why I never see your stuff. But it's better when they're subscribed to get their emails. And it's something I kind of neglected doing because I trusted the machine to do it for me. But what you realize is sometimes old-fashioned stuff is good, man. That's why countries that have landlines, if there's ever natural disasters, they're safe, right? Because countries that went straight from like mail to cell phones, if their satellites get knocked, they don't have any communication. That's why landline countries like America, if our cell phones go down, we can still call from payphones and call from landlines.
Right.
Redundancy is important. Redundancy, right? It has a bad connotation, but I think what we're finding out, just like from an infrastructural standpoint of a nation, from an infrastructural standpoint of a personal brand, redundancy is very, very good.
Yes, absolutely. I think like, well, okay, let's talk about email lists. How many people are on your email list right now?
Right now, it's probably like 250, so not that much, but
yeah, me too. I don't have that many. And this is like a new idea that I've just been like thinking about, because like it's like an insurance, like redundancy, like what you're saying. I'm just wondering how the best way to do it. I think some kind of like quiz or some kind of like something that sparks curiosity, where like something like, I don't know, man. But once I figure it out, I'm gonna I'll send you an email, or like I'll put you on my email list, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Put me on your email list now, man.
Yeah. Do you have like a weekly email list that you're gonna probably send out?
I will. The problem is, American law requires you to have a physical address listed in the email list. So next month, I'm going to invest in a P.O. box, because I'm not giving people my personal address, you know. As much as I like my Fight Commentary audience, they're not as crazy as my other audience from my other channel. And I'm not saying all the audience from my other channel are crazy. Just there's a higher percentage of crazy people that I've interacted from my other channel. But the thing is, the thing about my Fight Commentary audience is, if there's a loose cannon, he might know martial arts, and it's going to be a different type of thing if he finds my place, right?
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu match in the front yard.
Yeah, I think a P.O. box is a good idea for sure.
There's also something called a virtual address you can get, but I think that costs more than a P.O. box. But the virtual address, there's all these other perks and services that come from. I did some research into this because I was about to send out my first email to my first 200 people. And then I was like, wait, I'd send out a test email. Good thing I sent out a test email, right? I was like, why is it listing my address? And then I was looking at the reason. It's because spammers ruined it for all of us. People who like send you all the chain mail and the stupid stuff that goes to your spam box, that's the real spam. They made it so lawmakers had to pass this rule where, you know, if you want to actually mass email, you have to list an address. They were trying to do it to like avoid spam. But
what's considered a mass email? Like, can you just use your Gmail, or are you talking about if you're using like a list service or something, like a email list service?
I think if you're using an email list service.
Oh, I see.
So yes, if you do a mail merge, I think you still technically have to do it. But I guess it's hard. Like if you don't do it right, like let's say you like you coded your own mail merge, and then you kind of just like use that way of messaging people. What's to say? Like what's to say? The whatever, I don't know what it is, the FTC or the FCC. One of them is probably the FTC. What's to say they can be like, oh yeah, well, you're sending a mass email, right? Because with a mail merge, I guess you're technically like personalizing it for everyone, right? That's what a mail merge is. You set certain parameters, right? That you can then kind of manipulate. So like it's not like a mass email in that way from a listserv, because there's less customizable stuff from a mass email. I don't know. But I just remember looking up the laws and remembering that even if I used a mail merge, I think technically I still need to have an address. But you should look it up, because again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give legal advice.
Definitely.
It's just my understanding from what I
think it's like
research.
$30 or something. $40 for the year. Yeah, probably. It's not pretty expensive. It probably wouldn't be something expensive.
Yeah,
but I'm definitely gonna look into this email list thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, we covered a lot of great topics, but this is why I wanted to bring you on, man. And I think
dude.
what's interesting is, since you're writing your book right now, when it gets closer to the time of the publishing of your book, I think I would love to interview you again. Whether when you publish it or before you publish it, I think there's going to be a good time to have another conversation.
Yeah, Jerry, this is a lot of fun, man. And then, I would love to just like, keep in touch. We can see how each other is doing, man. I really feel like we have some commonalities that we can explore.
Absolutely.
Like,
So, guys, I will link Nishantha's channel and everything, his Twitter, his Instagram, etc., in the description and pinned comments. So go follow him. And this was Jerry Learns Business. But every time I have a heart-to-heart with someone, it sounds like this channel needs to be called Heart to Heart. So we'll see what this channel becomes, but very likely it's going to become Heart to Heart.
Well, great. Bye, everybody.